Hey, Sailor.
Today we're doing our next in our series Femme about tropes of women in science fiction. And we're going to be talking about gender performance.
And we're drinking wild thyme tea. In sci-fi, we need a lot more female characters because we often end up with the girl one or two now. There's a thing of like, we get two.
Yeah, you get
two women.
And they're so different from each other.
You get the femme one and the
tough one.
The tough one.
Or the white one and the not white one.
Yes. Yeah. And this is tokenism exceptionalism. The problem with the girl one is that girl has to stand in as a universal girl for everyone. And we're talking about broad genres, that's going to be a flat character.
It's not possible.
It's also like, even in films that we really love, with female characters that we also really love, when they're the only one, it's hard to wrap your mind around Emily Blunt's character in Edge of Tomorrow or Rinko Kinkuchi's Mako Mori in Pacific Rim, because they have no female influence in their lives.
And it's never touched on.
And it doesn't affect them in any way. They're still as capable, they still are who they are. Yeah. And it's not part of the story that they're the only woman, but that has to be a part of the story.
And we've talked before about, when you were talking about BoJack Horseman, and you talked about the idea of being a woman complicating the joke. And I think in sci-fi there's this sense of having more than one culture complicates the narrative or complicates the world. Like, there's always sort of one culture per planet, one ecosystem per planet, one culture for the good guys, one culture for the bad guys. There's this sense of monoculture, and I think when you have that and you have to squeeze a lot of people in it without thinking about how people do or don't fit into it, like the way people do or don't fit into even our dominant culture, I think that's where you get that rubbing, because you're not actively thinking about what is the effect of, like, okay, let's have monoculture, but like, why are we using that?
A lot of that, it takes away a lot of your drama opportunities, and a lot of sci-fi, as much as it can be this kind of monoculture that we can use to explore other issues, I think the best sci-fi is character driven. And when you're simplifying those aspects out of your character, you're taking depth away. You're taking away what it means to be the one person that is the most opposed to this culture and has to be within it. That is inherently more dramatic than the character that fits into it perfectly. I think The Hunger Games does a really great job of giving us these kind of, each district has a specific culture, the capital has a specific culture, and then as we get to know the characters, we get to see how they lay within that.
The other thing that The Hunger Games does really well, or at least the books do and the movies sort of do, is the idea of gender performance, because gender is almost entirely, obviously and demonstrably a performance in that for every single character. You have the hyper femme for both genders that characterizes the capital, and then you have Gale is like so hyper masculine, he's clearly performing that kind of gender.
Provider, protector.
That doesn't come from the culture of 12, because you also have Peeta, who doesn't perform masculinity in that.
But Peeta is beaten. Like, Peeta is beaten for not being good enough. So I think that there is a level that he is inaccurately performing his gender.
By his family.
By his family,
not by, you know, peacekeepers.
No, not by peacekeepers, but he is abused for not being able to meet the standards of masculinity and for giving away bread and for being kind of kind and nurturing, and they want to, like, literally beat that out of him.
Love him or hate him, Firefly is an amazing example of a lot of different performances of gender. You know, the women are amazing, but even Wash is such a less, like, hardcore masculine character.
And Book, like,
yeah, Shepherd Book, and obviously an amazing counterpoint to Jane. One of the most feminine names, but the most, like, performing that gender as hard as he can, guys. Something that's interesting for me with sci-fi and gender performance specifically is, where's on that spectrum, because it's a spectrum, is the gender performed, and how does that code the character as capable for the audience? Because it is really often towards the masculine end is capable. The woman has to be able to fight, she has to defend herself, she has to be able to shoot a gun.
Which was a lot of people's problem with Jupiter Ascending, is that she was damseled and that she couldn't fight for herself.
She doesn't seem
against highly
physically capable.
Yeah, against like highly technologically savvy and
total alien situations to her. That
like she has no tools, she has no skills, she has none of those. Like, no Earthling would have those skills or those capabilities.
And then that's like the flip side of Anita Sarkeesian's problem with Mad Max, which is that it centers on the violence and creates a culture in which women must participate in that violence.
And yeah, it's
I think
instead
the film
of
addresses that, but
We don't agree with that, but I think it is a really valid idea that women are welcome to like participate in the patriarchal violence, but they're not willing to like create a world beyond that. I think the fact that the matriarchy was lifted up and Mad Max didn't get on there and it was really helpful to me.
But and I also have a problem too with saying that violence is definitely something only men do or like really masculine women do, and that women are non-violent.
The way femininity is performed can be violent.
Just look up like poisoning in the
Lucretia Borgia.
Yeah, like I don't even.
But Mad Max is an example of a film with a lot of female characters, and so is Firefly. The more the merrier.
The more female characters you have, the more opportunities you have to show a variety of different kinds of femaleness.
And your characters are richer.
Read elect
to play with an army.
Our pool to draw from is just women in sci-fi.
Huge.
I want to include Kaylee in this because she's like
one
of my favorites.
She's amazing. I think we should probably
character.
read her. I don't think she would really do anything with an army. I think she'd like have a party with them.
We're just the team of reading teen girls' diaries over here.
I really want to give her an army because she is so efficient. She is not someone. She's actually one of the few people I'm giving an army that wouldn't abuse the power.
Communicating.
She's a great communicator. She
values like human like she's never gonna put them into harm's way.
And she's capable of making tough calls.
She's capable.
Officer. Yeah, she's capable of knowing when to send in the army and when to not. And I think that is the most responsible person I've ever given an army.
I think you're right. I'm gonna be honest. So who would we elect? Is wait, whoa.
Yes.
No, are we thinking of the same person? Are we thinking of Gina Torres?
Yes, that's exactly what I was gonna do. Yes,
Zoe Washburn, president of the universe. Zoe Washburn.
Yes,
we agree.
Cheers.